invited to attend. Please, thank you for this unsolicited testimonial. And now, by special permission of the Commander-in-Chief, me, here is Mars' first space explorer, Colonel Cosmic.
I can't tell you how happy I am to see your smiling faces once more. First, let me say that this trip was made possible only by our dauntless chief, Og the Magnificent, introducer of Og Power, which runs most of our industry, and inventor of Og Speed, which doubles the original Og Power. A short time ago, the master was having trouble with the state limousine. He had, of course, developed the explosive charge. But it was inclined to get a little out of hand, just slightly. And of course, there was always the problem of friction. Parts rubbing together, heating up, and causing all sorts of trouble. But our leader was undaunted. He immediately ordered our first expedition into space to bring back the secret of how other planets got their state limousines to run smoothly. The target was picked with painstaking scientific accuracy. Destination Earth. You all know with what eagerness I volunteered for the mission, and with what confidence I took off. I took careful bearings and set out for my goal. It seemed no time till I was approaching a country of Earth called, the United States of America. I set her down like a feather. What's all the racket? Naturally, I protected government property by making the saucer invisible. They're after the chickens, Ma! And though the natives showed great interest in me, I decided to make myself invisible, too. Seeing moving lights in the distance, I headed for them. What phenomenal luck! I had landed close to what seemed to be an endless procession of state limousines. They moved quickly, and yet with fantastic smoothness. I just had to get a closer look at one of those Earthmobiles. Just as I thought. Not only smooth and efficient, but powerful as well. I watched them for hours. Great Ganymede, they were superb. I just couldn't help comparing them with ours, if you call that a comparison. Surely these vehicles must be the property of the highest officials. I was wrong. It seems that almost everybody in this country has one of those, they call them automobiles. They use them for transportation, for business, for pleasure. They use them for all sorts of things. I found that these vehicles gather at places called service stations, where they are fed, lubricated, that's how they beat friction, and given the finest care. The source of their nourishment was something called petroleum. A power source like that must be a highly prized state secret. I had to find out about it. Perhaps the secret lay within this government archives building. It was heavily guarded, but casting discretion to the winds, I walked boldly inside. Their code was remarkably easy to break. They merely substituted the word oil for petroleum. And I soon got hold of a veritable mine of classified information. I began to assimilate the material. I soon found out that though petroleum products are easily found anywhere, petroleum itself is a very elusive substance. Experts have to search for it constantly in all the most likely and unlikely places with all kinds of scientific devices. When they figure they found a good spot, they drill a hole in the ground called an oil well, for almost all oil lies far beneath the surface of the earth. These wells go down thousands of feet and cost a lot of money to drill. But that's no guarantee that they're going to find oil. Matter of fact, in exploratory drilling, only 1 well in 9 finds any oil at all. Only 1 in 44 recovers enough oil to pay for itself. And only 1 in almost 1,000 makes a major discovery. Pretty big odds. Yet America's proved reserves, the oil supplies still underground, have kept increasing steadily. I couldn't imagine how this ever-increasing supply of oil was achieved until I found out that there's not just 1, but thousands of oil companies, all competing with each other to discover and develop new sources of oil. For believe it or not, in the USA, anyone who is willing to risk it can drill for oil. But oil discovery is only part of the story. Once they get oil out of the ground, it has to be moved through pipelines, on ships, or in tank cars, to fantastic processing plants called refineries. Crude oil goes in, and great Jupiter, the things that come out. Gasoline, for example, the most efficient mobile power source on Earth. That was the stuff that powered all those cars and trucks. And asphalt, which makes smooth, durable roads. It seems that oil not only runs cars, it even gives them something to run on. Another oil product is the diesel fuel, which runs giant trains across the nation. In winter, fuel oil made from petroleum brings warmth and comfort to millions of homes. And still other fuels help defend America's shores and skies. From refineries also come the lubricating oils and greases that keep the wheels turning in America. But that still isn't all. Crude oil, like everything else, is made up of billions of tiny molecules. And using the magic of research, oil companies compete with each other in taking the petroleum molecule apart and rearranging it into, well, you name it. Fabrics, toothbrushes, tires, insecticides, cosmetics, weed killers. A whole galaxy of things to make a better life on Earth. And you know, it isn't just oil companies that try to outdo each other, competing for the customer's dollar. The same story is true of almost every successful business enterprise in America. The result? A higher standard of living in the USA than in any other country on the whole planet. At last, the secret was mine. And now, to get proof of my discovery, smuggled past the border guards. In spite of my infinite precautions, one of them became suspicious and gave the alarm.
Come back for the eggs, did you?
Yeah, Pa!
So, with the fond farewells of the natives ringing in my ears, I took off once again for Mars. My landing was a little bumpy, but I saved my precious cargo. Yes, I brought the secrets back with me, and here they are. The big secret is, of course, oil, which has brought a better life to all the people in the USA. But the key to making oil work for everybody is competition. Fellow Martians, I thank you.
Very interesting, Colonel. Oil, huh? Sounds splendid. But that, what was it? Competition. Not our kind of thing at all. Why, competition is downright un-Martian.
Oil? You'll have oil for everybody. That's what we need. Oh, boy, oil!
Look at them. You know what this means, Cosmic?
You bet I do, Og. It means that you're through. So why don't you get lost? Yes, the real secret is not only a great source of energy, but also the freedom to make it work for everybody. And if you have both of these things, any goal is possible. It's Destination Unlimited.
Just before lunch one day, a puppet show was put on at school. It was called Mr. Bungle Goes to Lunch. It was fun to watch. In the puppet show, Mr. Bungle came to the boys' room on his way to lunch. He looked at his hands. His hands were dirty, and his hair was messy. But Mr. Bungle didn't stop to wash his hands or comb his hair. He went right to lunch. Then, instead of getting into line at the lunchroom, Mr. Bungle pushed everyone aside and went right to the front. Even though this made the children laugh, no one thought that was a fair thing to do. Then, in the lunchroom, Mr. Bungle was so clumsy and impolite that he knocked over everything, and no one wanted to sit next to him. And when he finally knocked his own tray off the table, that was the end of the puppet show. The children knew that even though Mr. Bungle was funny to watch, he wouldn't be much fun to eat with. Phil knew that a Mr. Bungle wouldn't have many friends. He wouldn't want to be like Mr. Bungle. Later, Miss Brown said it was time for the children who ate in the cafeteria to go to lunch. She hoped there weren't any Mr. Bungles in this room. Phil stopped to return a book to Miss Brown while his friends went on to the lunchroom. He would have to catch up with them later. On his way to catch up with his friends, Phil almost walked past the boys' room, but he stopped and thought. Were his hands clean? No, they were a little dirty. Phil remembered that Mr. Bungle didn't wash his hands. Mr. Bungle's hair was messy, too. Phil didn't want to be like Mr. Bungle. Inside the boys' room, Phil was surprised to see some of his friends washing their hands, too. Phil washed his hands well, with lots of soap. Then he rinsed the soap off. Phil dried his hands well, too. When he was finished, he threw the paper towel in the basket where it belonged. And then he made sure that his hair looked neat. Now, Phil and his friends were ready for lunch. There was a line of children waiting to get into the lunchroom when Phil got there. He saw some boys he knew at the front of the line. They waved for him to go up to the front with them. But Phil didn't want to break into line as Mr. Bungle did. So Phil went to the end. That was the fair thing to do. He would see his other friends inside the lunchroom. The line moved very fast, and soon Phil was inside. First, he picked up his tray. Then he got his silverware. He put his knife, fork, and spoon neatly on the tray. And then he slid his tray along. He always enjoyed looking at the good food in the cafeteria. It tasted good, and was good for him, too. Instead of having a sandwich today, Phil decided to take the hot lunch. Phil took some bread and butter, too, and he knew what else he wanted: milk. But Alice took the last carton on the tray. Maybe there was more milk, so he said, "May I please have some milk?" Phil remembered to say, "May I?" and "please." That was very polite. Yes, there was more milk. Phil remembered to say, "Thank you," when he took the carton of milk. Phil had good manners. He didn't want to be like Mr. Bungle in the lunchroom. Phil didn't want to forget his dessert. The cake looked delicious. At the end of the line, the lunchroom supervisor said she had noticed how polite Phil was, and she smiled at him. She wouldn't smile at a Mr. Bungle. Phil went to the table where his friends were. He put his tray down carefully, pulled out his chair quietly, and sat down. He knew his friends wouldn't like a noisy Mr. Bungle at their table. There was someone Phil liked: Freddie. He always brought his lunch from home. It looked good. Freddie had a sandwich, an apple, a cookie, and milk. Before Phil began to eat, he always put a napkin on his lap. So did Freddie. Everyone liked Freddie. He was very polite. For example, if he had food in his mouth when someone talked to him, he always took time to chew the food with his mouth closed and swallow before he answered. Phil noticed how straight and tall Freddie usually sat. Freddie kept his feet on the floor, too. Phil would rather be like Freddie than like Mr. Bungle. Another polite person everyone liked was Alice. For example, when Alice sneezed, she covered her mouth and nose. This protected her friends at the table from any germs. While Phil and his friends ate, a boy ran past their table. You shouldn't run in the lunchroom. Only Mr. Bungle would do that. Phil and his friends wouldn't like to have a Mr. Bungle at their table. Then lunchtime wouldn't be as much fun as it is. Phil ate slowly and enjoyed his lunch. Finally, he had eaten everything except his dessert. He saved his cake for last. Only a Mr. Bungle would eat his dessert before he'd finished the rest of his lunch. And Phil wasn't a Mr. Bungle. The cake was good. Phil drank his milk carefully. Some children are messy when they drink milk, but not Phil. As each of Phil's friends finished, they didn't leave the table, but waited for all the others to finish eating too. Phil was the last one done. He wiped his mouth and hands carefully with his napkin. Then he cleaned the table where he sat. He didn't want to leave his place at the table dirty. Everyone at the table cleaned his own place well. But look at that table. It was left very messy. Phil thought a Mr. Bungle must have sat there. But Phil didn't want to be like Mr. Bungle, so he put his chair neatly into place. And his table looked fine. Not a piece of paper or scrap of food was left on it. No Mr. Bungle sat here. Phil's friends were careful to put their waste papers and empty milk cartons where they belonged. In this way, they helped keep the lunchroom clean. Phil was certain that Mr. Bungle wouldn't put his paper in the waste basket and his empty carton on the milk tray. Mr. Bungle probably wouldn't bother to put his lunch tray in the right place either, but Phil and his friends did. Lunch was good today. And then Miss Brown told Phil and his friends how proud she was of them. They had left their table the neatest in the lunchroom. No one here was a Mr. Bungle, and no one wanted to be. Are you like Mr. Bungle? Mr. Bungle is a shame because he spoils lunchtime. Don't be like Mr. Bungle. Have good lunchtime manners, and lunch will be more fun for everyone.
Control 810. We've got our clout going down on Little River Road. It's a white male, blue jeans, light blue shirt. He's getting into a citation. Driven by a white female. Looks like he got a purse, maybe a camera. Got into a blue Chevrolet. Headed west on Little River Road.
700-415. 517 myself are east of Bull Falls in position to make that stop.
700 copy.
Let's go.
Another bust, another arrest, and 2 more criminals will end up behind bars, all as a result of an effective surveillance operation. We all know that an organized, well-planned surveillance can be vital to the success of any law enforcement effort. Over the years, the information gained through surveillance has resulted in the apprehension, arrest, and conviction of thousands of criminals all over the country. And although each surveillance has a unique strategy and may employ different techniques and procedures, they all revolve around one fundamental principle: to remain unseen, to blend into the environment, to gather information without your subject knowing you're there. Now, in an urban area with its busy thoroughfares, tall buildings, secluded alleyways, and crowded sidewalks, it can be relatively easy to become part of the background. But what if you're out here in the open or in the forest? What do you do to blend into the background out here? And what techniques do you employ to gather the information you need? Those are the fundamentals of rural surveillance, and that's what we're going to be talking about during this program. The practice of wearing camouflage actually began with primitive man. The spears, arrows, and clubs he used to hunt with had a limited range, and he therefore had to be able to move in close to his prey without being detected. He was able to accomplish this by tying leaves and sticks onto his body with leather cords. That would help him blend into the environment. The French and Indian War saw early American Rangers use a camouflaging technique they had learned from the Indians. By coloring their clothes with natural dyes, they were able to hide much more effectively from the enemy. Now, during World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, and up until the present day, camouflaging techniques have become much more sophisticated and specific in their uses. Camouflages have been developed for just about every environment. The idea is to select the type camouflage that is appropriate for the area you will be in. For example, if you will be operating in a conifer hardwood forest, a good choice of camouflage would be the woodland camo pattern. If you are to be working in a wooded area where tall trees and dense green ground foliage are present, you might choose the tree bark green leaf camo pattern. A forest with low leaves and foliage might call for real tree, mossy oak, or ASAT camouflage. There are several other patterns of camouflage that have been developed for just about every kind of terrain. Make sure you choose the pattern that best suits your purpose. The choosing of your camouflage pattern is only the first step in becoming truly invisible, though. The shape and colors of the human body are distinct, and so the use of grass, twigs, leaves, even of camouflage cloth, they can be used to help break up the outline and to add color, contrast, and texture to help blur the image. As you can see by looking at these two officers, although they're both wearing the same type of camouflage clothing, one officer is much more hidden than the other. The appropriate use of grass, twigs, leaves, and strips of camouflage cloth has helped to break up his silhouette. In addition, the application of military face paint, charcoal, or plain old mud can reduce the reflective qualities of the skin on the face, neck, and hands.
Doug, I'm going to go scout around the other side.
Yeah, be careful.
When moving in or out of the observation post, or anywhere in the area for that matter, the primary rule to follow is to move slowly. Any erratic movement could catch someone's eye or cause some loud complaints from the resident wildlife. Either way, you've brought attention to yourself. You should stop frequently, not only to give yourself a chance to check your surroundings, but also to reduce the risk of drawing attention to yourself. Keep an eye out for booby traps, and be prepared for confrontations with wild animals or dogs. Stay in shaded areas during your movements, and take advantage of low areas and depressions. If at all possible, stay within the tree line. Place your feet carefully as you walk, avoiding dead branches or twigs, or any soft ground which may leave footprints.
It's a yellow lady slipper. My friend saw
And if
one
someone
in this
should
area.
appear,
She told me.
take a lesson from the animals in the wild and freeze immediately.
Yeah.
If you've prepared your camouflage properly and are absolutely still, there's a good chance you won't even be seen. And that's the lesson of this entire program. You can remain hidden from your subject's eyes, his ears, and his nose, so that on another day you can return to the same area. Now, by following the common sense guidelines we've discussed here today, you can blend into the terrain, become an integral part of the natural landscape, and conduct your surveillance operation with safety and effectiveness. The elements of this safety and effectiveness are a good overall strategy, comprehensive planning and preparation, a thorough reconnaissance of the area, and effective use of proven camouflaging techniques. If you're diligent in your execution of these elements, your rural surveillance operation will be a success.
700-415.
700 copy.
We have 2 individuals in custody. We also have the stolen articles out of the vehicle. We'll be en route to the jail.
700 copy.
Good job, surveillance team.
Copy.
Good job, believe me. All right.
Dum-dum, deedle-dum-dum, deedle-dum-dum, deedle-dum-dum. There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered, ducked and covered.
He did what we all must learn to do. You
and you
and you
and you duck and cover.
Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about. Duck and cover. This is an official civil defense film produced in cooperation with the Federal Civil Defense Administration and in consultation with the Safety Commission of the National Education Association. Produced by Archer Productions, Incorporated. Hey, Bert, come on out and meet all these nice people, please. Oh, all right. We really can't blame you. You see, Bert is a very, very careful fellow. When there's danger, this is the way he keeps from being hurt. Sometimes it even saves his life. That's why these children are practicing to duck and cover just as you do in your school. We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous. Since it may be used against us, we must get ready for it, just as we are ready for many other dangers that are around us all the time. Fire is a danger. It can burn whole buildings if someone is careless. But we are ready for fires. We have a fine fire department to put out the fire, and you have fire drills in your school so you know what to do. Automobiles can be dangerous, too. They sometimes cause bad accidents, but we are ready. We have safety rules that car drivers and people who are walking must obey. Now, we must be ready for a new danger, the atomic bomb. First, you have to know what happens when an atomic bomb explodes. You will know when it comes. We hope it never comes, but we must get ready. It looks something like this. There is a bright flash, brighter than the sun, brighter than anything you've ever seen. If you were not ready and did not know what to do, it could hurt you in different ways. It could knock you down hard or throw you against a tree or a wall. It is such a big explosion, it can smash in buildings and knock signboards over and break windows all over town. But if you duck and cover like Bert, you will be much safer. You know how bad sunburn can feel. The atomic bomb flash could burn you worse than a terrible sunburn, especially where you're not covered. Now, you and I don't have shells to crawl into like Bert the Turtle, so we have to cover up in our own way. First, you duck, and then you cover. And very tightly, you cover the back of your neck and your face. Duck and cover underneath a table or desk or anything else close by. In Betty's school, they are talking about the atomic bomb, too. Betty is asking her teacher, how can we tell when the atomic bomb may explode? And her teacher is explaining that there are two kinds of attack, with warning and without any warning. We think that most of the time we will be warned before the bomb explodes, so there will be time for us to get into our homes, schools, or some other safe place. Our civil defense workers and our men in uniform will do everything they can to warn us before enemy planes can bring a bomb near us. You may be in your schoolyard playing when the signal comes. That signal means to stop whatever you are doing and get to the nearest safe place fast. Always remember, the flash of an atomic bomb can come at any time, no matter where you may be. You might be out playing at home when the warning comes. Then be sure to get into the house fast, where your parents have fixed a safe place for you to go. If you are not close to home when you hear the warning, go to the nearest safe cover. Know where you are to go, or ask an older person to help you. You know the places marked with the S sign? They're safe places to go when you hear the alarm. If there is a warning, you will hear it before the bomb explodes. But sometimes, and this is very, very important, sometimes the bomb might explode without any warning. Then the first thing we would know about it would be the flash. And that means duck and cover fast, wherever you are. There's no time to look around or wait. Be like Bert. When there is a flash, duck and cover, and do it fast. Here are some older boys showing what to do if the flash comes when you are not in the classroom. This is what to do if you should be in a corridor. You duck and cover tight against the wall this way. Remember to keep your face and the back of your neck covered tightly. Try to fall away from windows or doors with glass in them. Then, if the glass breaks and flies through the air, it won't cut you. You might be eating your lunch when the flash comes. Duck and cover under the table. Then, if the explosion makes anything in the room fall down, it can't fall on you. Getting ready means we will all have to be able to take care of ourselves. The bomb might explode when there are no grown-ups near. Paul and Patty know this, and they're always ready to take care of themselves. Here they are on their way to school on a beautiful spring day. But no matter where they go or what they do, they always try to remember what to do if the atom bomb explodes right then. It's a bomb. Duck and cover. Paul and Patty know what to do. Paul covered the back of his head so that he wouldn't be burned, and Patty covered herself with the coat she was carrying. They knew how to duck and cover. They acted right away when the flash came. If they had been at this doorway when the bomb flashed, Paul and Patty would have ducked and covered this way, like this girl. Heavy doorways are a good place to duck and cover. She will be safer, too. Here's Tony going to his Cub Scout meeting. Tony knows the bomb can explode any time of the year, day or night. He is ready for it. Duck and cover. Attaboy, Tony. That flash means act fast. Tony knows that it helps to get to any kind of cover. This wall was close by, so that's where he ducked and covered. Tony knew what to do. Notice how he keeps from moving or from getting up and running? He stays down until he is sure the danger is over. The man helping Tony is a civil defense worker. His job is to help protect us when there is danger of the atomic bomb. We must obey the civil defense worker. We must know how to duck and cover in the school bus or in any other bus or streetcar. Duck and cover. Don't wait. Duck away from the windows fast. The glass may break and fly through the air and cut you. Sundays, holidays, vacation time, we must be ready every day, all the time, to do the right thing if the atomic bomb explodes. Duck and cover. This family knows what to do, just as your own family should. They know that even a thin cloth helps protect them. Even a newspaper can save you from a bad burn. But the most important thing of all is to duck and cover yourself, especially where your clothes do not cover you. No matter where we live, in the city or the country, we must be ready all the time for the atomic bomb. Duck and cover. That's the first thing to do, duck and cover. The next important thing to do after that is to stay covered until the danger is over. Yes, we must all get ready now so we know how to save ourselves if the atomic bomb ever explodes near us. If you do not know just what to do, ask your teacher when this film is over. Discuss what you could do in different places if a bomb explodes. Older people will help us as they always do, but there might not be any grown-ups around when the bomb explodes. Then, you're on your own.
Remember what to do, friends. Now tell me right out loud. What are you supposed to do when you see the flash?
Duck and cover. Duck and cover. Duck and cover.
America is many things to many people. To a 17-year-old kid, it's the malt shop on the corner. To Grandpa, it's the front porch in the cool of the evening. To Mother and her family, it's church on Sunday morning. And to Dad, it's his favorite relaxation. It's the Cracker Barrel philosophers in Crabtree Corners. And it's the tycoons in Wall Street. It's all races, creeds, and religions. It's freedom to work at the job you like. Freedom of speech and to peaceably assemble. Freedom to own property. Security from unlawful search or seizure.
Where's your warrant, Flatfoot?
The right to a speedy and public trial. Protection against cruel punishments and excessive fines. The right to vote. And to worship God in your own way. It is these freedoms that have made America strong.
Okay, so we got our freedom. But management's lousing up everything.
Labor is at fault. It's ruining the country.
My constituents, as your elected representative, I can assure you Labor's right, management's right. I'm strictly neutral.
Labor, management, politicians, phooey. They can't tell corn from oats.
Wait,
only take the money out of my pocket.
Hurry, step right up, folks. Here's the answer to your problems. Dr. Utopia's sensational new discovery, ISM. ISM will cure any ailment of the body politic. It's terrific. It's tremendous. Once you swallow the contents of this bottle, you'll have the bountiful benefit of higher wages, shorter hours, and security. Enormous profits, no strikes. Remember, you're the big boss. Government control, no worry about votes. Name your own salary. Bigger crops, lower cost. Why, ISM even makes the weather perfect every day. And now then, because we are introducing this amazing item for the first time in this country, it isn't going to cost you 1 cent. All you have to do is sign this little scrap of paper, and you get your bottle absolutely free.
I hereby turn over to ISM Incorporated everything I have, including my freedom and the freedom of my children and my children's children, in return for which said ISM promises to take care of me forever.
Get out of the way.
Pardon me.
And who are you, my good man?
I'm John Q. Public.
Ah, my fine friend, you're just in time to share this generous and gigantic offer. Sign right here.
Mind if I read it first?
Hurry up,
Keep your shirts on, boys. Including my freedom. Freedom? What? Sign away my freedom. Why, this is ridiculous.
Don't be corny, brother.
Sure, our system of free enterprise isn't perfect. But before we throw it away for some imported double talk, let's turn the clock back a few years to see what it's done for us. For example, back in the 1890s, Joe Dokes was just a guy who liked to tinker around his barn. Some people thought Joe was lazy. Some even thought he was nuts. But one day, he had an idea. And because he was free to dream his dream and tinker, Joe had a chance to make something of himself and his idea. So, of course, some people didn't think so much of Joe's idea. But that didn't stop him. So Joe got some money from young Aunt Minnie and Uncle Angus and Grandpappy and Mr. Titus. When Joe's friends and relatives used their savings to help him buy tools and property, they were capitalists. Don't blush, folks. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Now, naturally, Joe needed some help. So he hired Willie Lumpkin, who was out of work anyway, and before long, Willie had the know-how and became skilled labor. Because capital, management, and labor worked together, Joe's idea grew. It grew and did things even he never dreamed of. Today, the automobile industry provides millions of jobs that never existed before. And remember, this is a story of only one industry. There are thousands more scattered all over the United States whose history of development is pretty much the same. We've built a country under the American system that sends more young people to high school and college than all the rest of the world combined. Why, even in the Depression, our wages bought more food, clothing, travel, and entertainment than the wages of any other people in the world. Our country has a national income equal to the total national incomes of any other 6 nations in the world. With only 7% of the Earth's people, we drive 70% of the world's automobiles. That's just a sample of the things the capitalistic system has given us in only 160 years. Before signing up, you boys ought to try a little taste of Dr. Ism's formula to see what you'd get in exchange for your freedom. Go ahead, try it.
You can't do this to me! I'll strike!
The state forbids strikes.
Wait till the union hears about this!
Ah, yes, the union. Welcome to our ranks, number 1313.
I'll take this case to the Supreme Court.
The state is the Supreme Court. Our decision is as follows. No more private property. No more you.
The farm vote will put a stop to this.
Farmers don't vote anymore.
What'll I do for seed next year?
You won't have to worry about next year. The state will do your planning from now on.
We must fight to regain our freedom, or everything is lost. Everything!
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
When anybody preaches disunity, tries to pit one of us against the other through class warfare, race hatred, or religious intolerance, you know that person seeks to rob us of our freedom and destroy our very lives. And we know what to do about it.
Now, gentlemen, no violence, please. Don't throw those bottles. Don't throw those bottles. No! Oh, no, no! Hey, oh, no, hey,
Working together to produce an ever greater abundance of material and spiritual values for all. That is the secret of American prosperity.
I'm George Putnam. I'd like to begin with a fact, a simple yet shocking fact. It is this: a flood tide of filth is engulfing our country in the form of newsstand obscenity and is threatening to pervert an entire generation of our American children. We know that once a person is perverted, it is practically impossible for that person to adjust to normal attitudes in regard to sex. Yet much of this material has been described as an illustrated, detailed course in perversion, abnormal sex, crime, and violence. It is also a fact that no matter who buys this material, 75 to 90% of it ends up in the hands of our children. Now, you might ask yourself, why this sudden concern? Pornography and sex deviation have always been with mankind. This is true. But now consider another fact. Never in the history of the world have the merchants of obscenity, the teachers of unnatural sex acts, had available to them the modern facilities for disseminating this filth. High-speed presses, rapid transportation, mass distribution, all have combined to put the vilest obscenity within reach of every man, woman, and child in the country. In the past few years, this obscenity traffic and salacious newsstand literature have become increasingly worse, not only in content, but in volume. This traffic continues to increase and flourish for one reason. It is big business, profitable business for the mercenary persons who produce it, and for its more than 800 distributors. The United States Supreme Court has described it as dirt for dirt's sake. We describe it as dirt for money's sake. Obscene literature is a $2 billion a year business. That's $2 billion. The problem is graphically illustrated by these advertisements, all of which were clipped from this one copy of a single girly magazine. In these, as well as in all the other groups of magazines, the rawest materials can be ordered through the United States mails. And thus, newsstand publications create a market for illustrated, hardcore pornography. After these displays, you probably think that there couldn't be anything worse. But perhaps the most insidious single group of publications is the cheap pocketbook. In page after page of these so-called novels, sex organs, positions of intercourse, abnormal sex practices of every kind are described with intimate physical detail. Nothing is left to the imagination. An invitation even is extended to the reader to come join the fun. Teenagers, particularly, are liable to pull down the corners of the obscene passages, the more readily to dwell on them over and over and over again. And the teenager soon gets to recognize the publishers of the worst material and seeks out their products. This is a book typical of many. It is called Sex Jungle. I would like to read you a passage from this book, not because it is particularly obscene, but because it portrays a philosophy that is aimed at our young people. This philosophy is not just in this book, but through all of this material. A 16-year-old boy, member of a gang, has just clubbed an old man in the course of a robbery, and he's thinking back over his accomplishment. Maybe he would die. That would mean I had murdered him. I smiled, trying the idea on for size. One of the things that always had cheesed me a little was that I had no kills to my credit. I'd been in plenty of rumbles, but somehow I'd never cooled anyone. Well, maybe now I'd have my first one. I couldn't feel very proud of sculling an old man, but at least I could say that I'd scored. That was a big kick. What are we alive for except to grab all the kicks we can? Sex, that's a kick. Sure, a damn good one. A guy can't ever get enough of that. Drinking, that's another kick. An okay kick. Marijuana, sure. M's good, too, if you don't let it get the upper hand with you. Heroin, H. There was something to be said for that. I'd tried it. But horse isn't such a good kick because it takes more than it gives. And before long, you use it and you don't get any kick. There were others. Rape. That was a kick that I'd tried a couple times. It makes you feel real big to grab a girl, rip her clothes off, and take her. The way I figure it, you get kicks from what you do to other people. If you take something from a girl that she values, you've gained something. Or at least that's the way I look at it. I'm brainier than a lot of gang guys. I spend a lot of time thinking. Maybe I should have been a professor. And the way I thought it out, taking a girl's cherry's a hell of a gratifying thing. And so is murder. That was one kick I hadn't experienced yet. Taking life, that's living big. Only I wasn't happy about doing it this long, drawn-out way. An old man slowly dying. There wasn't much kick in that. But sticking a knife into a guy, twisting upward, that must be something. End of quote. I repeat, my friends, I have not shown you these pictures and quoted from this material merely to shock you or make this presentation sensational. It is only to show what is openly available on your newsstands. And think of this. What you have just seen is not the worst material available. And yet, even this required editing to make it suitable to be shown in this film. And so, my friends, the question is whether you consider publications, samples of which you have seen in this film, to be below your community standards. To find the answer, ask yourself these questions. Would you display this material on your living room table? Do you find such material in the living rooms of your friends and neighbors? Would you read stories from these publications to your family or friends? Would you undertake to sell this material from door to door? Of course you would not. Your community standards are far above this depraved material. Now, what can you do to solve the problem? You've seen the nature of the problem. You've heard the legal solution. But what can you as an individual in your own community do? Form a Citizens for Decent Literature group in your community. Such a community organization will awaken people to the problem. It will provide speakers and other means to educate the public and arouse public opinion which will support the police and prosecutors so that prompt, vigorous enforcement of the law can be expected. Information and advice on the organization of a Citizens for Decent Literature unit can be obtained by writing to CDL, Box 12, Cincinnati, Ohio. So you can see from what I have told you and shown you today that a moral decay is spreading through our country and our society. This same type of rot and decay caused 16 of the 19 major civilizations to vanish from the earth. Magnificent Egypt, classical Greece, imperial Rome, all crumbled away, not because of the strength of the aggressor, but because of moral decay from within. But we are in a unique position to cure our own ills. Our Constitution was written by men who put their trust in God. and founded a government based on his laws. These laws are on our side. We have a constitutional guarantee of protection against obscenity. And in this day especially, we must seek to deliver ourselves from this twisting, torturing evil. We must save our nation from decay and deliver our children from the horrors of perversion. We must make our land, the land of the free, a safe home. Oh God, deliver us, Americans, from evil.
The guardians of our health, our doctors, nurses, teachers, and parents, are working together to keep us well. All of them must know and agree on the health practices we need at home, in the neighborhood, and at school. This is Joan, getting ready for school. Joan learned at school that it's important to choose the right clothes on a cold day. The temperature is 40, too cold for just a coat. She will need her snowsuit if she wishes to keep well for the Dutch festival. And this is Jim, Joan's brother. They choose wraps to keep all of their body warm. Mother is good to see Jim looking so well this morning. Their color is good, their eyes alert. They're ready for work or play. Mother needs to get another supply of paper handkerchiefs. Jim's friend George is eating an apple as he waits for them. That is a wise no thank you, Joan. Never share another's food. George has forgotten something that helps keep him clean. It's lucky for George that Joan has an extra tissue to lend him. Some children learn to jump or go around puddles, but George wades right into trouble because he forgot his galoshes. This is Miss May, Joan's teacher. George and Joan are glad to be in school. The children are getting ready for their Dutch festival. Tom has brought the thermometer in so that the children can guess what the weatherman doll should wear today. A raincoat and umbrella? Oh no, a snowsuit and galoshes to keep him warm and dry. It was hard to guess today, but Tom is a good guesser. Or did Mother tell him what to wear? George, you forgot something more important than your handkerchief. You forgot to cover your sneeze, and cold germs travel on your sneeze or cough, you know. Why, cold germs can fly farther than Miss May can blow the feather. Cold germs can fly 8 feet to another child's nose, hand, or food. People who put fingers into their mouths make it easy for cold germs to come to them. No, not that way, George. Blow your nose gently, without pressing the opening of the nostrils closed. That's better. Oh, and your feet are wet. It's easy to catch cold when your body is chilly. You'd better go and see the school nurse. She'll help you. The nurse is examining Mary after her cold. 4 days at home with a cold keeps others from catching it and protects you from serious infections that follow colds.
Now, George, who sent you in here?
Miss May thought I might be catching a cold.
Well, what do you think?
I'm hot and chilly.
Well, did you sleep pretty well last night, and did you feel like getting up this morning? Did your breakfast taste good?
I hardly had time to have my breakfast. I had an apple on the way.
Now blow your nose, George. Oh, not so hard, gently. No pressure on the opening. Now let's look at your throat. Open wide. All right, now you sit down, and I'll take her. You moisten your lips and hold this under your tongue. Oh, your feet are wet too, George. Winnetka, 3, 2, 1. Hello, is it Mrs. Powell there? Yes. Well, this is Miss Wright, Mrs. Powell. George came in to see me a few moments ago with a cold. Yes, his throat is quite red and his feet are wet, too. I do think he'd be more comfortable at home in bed. Well, just a minute, please. Yes, his temperature is 99.8. Well, it is best to consult your physician if it goes over 100, especially during the cold season. Oh, that would be nice of you to call for him. Yes, he'll be right here in my office. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Joan's mother visits school to plan a health program. Joan must learn to take responsibility for keeping herself well. This weather chart keeps Joan alert to weather changes as she marks snowy or rainy days. Dressing this weather doll for outdoor weather helps Joan know what to wear herself. It will be better for Mother when Joan chooses wraps to suit the temperature instead of arguing about what friends wear. Mother and teacher check Joan's health habits. They plan better health practices for home and school. At school, Joan's committee keeps the washroom attractive with soap sponges, brushes, and signs. Others keep the closets neat with boxes for rubbers and hangers for clothes. Another records the temperature and tells us when we need heat or fresh air. One group keeps large drawing pencils scrubbed ready for use.
Those are jobs Joan and Jim could be learning to do at home, too. On Saturdays, they love to help us plan what we're going to do. I'm so glad to get this health record sheet. Your check on Joan's habits at school will help me plan a corrective health program at home. I'm going to find out what kind of health practices we use, and I must check on our equipment to see if we have the materials to carry on the school practices. Thank you for some grand ideas, Miss May. I'm going to visit school again some afternoon when I call for Joan. May I?
Do come often. It is good for teachers and children to have parents visit school.
Next morning, Joan's mother is inspecting the health materials in her home. Each one in the family needs a separate towel and washcloth. Mother has one for Jim and another for Joan, each with his own name. Joan's father made a box for her to stand on. It's no fun washing if you have to stretch or can't see into the basin. And here are new cups. Each can have his own cup now. It prevents catching another's cold. Why, Jim, why are you so cross? Father has taught Joan to spit into the toilet, for spitting spreads disease. Here are the spoons for your cod liver oil, Joan. It's extra sunshine for us in winter and spring. You know, strong bodies can't always keep us from catching cold, but they help us resist a serious illness that may follow colds. Keep away from persons with colds, and keep your hands clean while you're eating. Jim must wash his hands after he pets his dog, but he won't have to go upstairs, as Father has arranged a wash stand downstairs, so Jim will remember to wash. What's the trouble with Jim? He didn't like his breakfast, and he was restless as he slept. He's cross and tired this morning. His throat isn't very red, but his eyes look queer. He'd better stay home today so that Mother can watch him and keep him warm. Joan's mother can't go to the kermis now, so Joan must take the paper bags for the party. Colds are easy to catch during the first 24 hours. Mother must see that Jim covers his coughs and stays away from others. She must sterilize his dishes by boiling them thoroughly in water. Joan's room at school is a busy place, and Joan wants to help get ready for the kermis. But first, she must wash her hands. We must always wash hands clean before handling food. So, Joan takes off her coat, uses plenty of soap and a good lather. She rinses her hands well and dries them thoroughly with a paper towel. In another room, the kindergarten children are getting ready for the kermesse. It's best to go to the toilet and wash hands first. Now Joan has her wraps off, her hands are clean, and she's ready to pack the bags for the kermesse. The kermesse has started. George's friends are selling the flowers they raised. They learn that flowers, like children, need plenty of sunshine, water, good food, and moderate temperature to make them grow. Joan's friends are selling cheese, and they are careful to keep the food clean. Everyone is having a good time, while poor George stays in bed. His careless habits have made Jim miss the kermesse too, and Jim is restless in bed. Now he knows it pays to avoid people with colds. But Jim's friends are enjoying the kermesse. They learn that Dutch people are clean. Hollanders leave their wooden shoes on their doorstep so that their floors are spotless. The Dutch drink milk and raise their own vegetables and flowers. They keep well. You have seen these children learning to take care of themselves. Now, do you know why George and Jim missed the kermesse?
The moon was so bright, it melted the walls away. And it wasn't alarming when I saw Prince Charming come into my bedroom and say,
let me persuade you to come to the place where tomorrow meets today.
Ooh, thank you. It sounds very exciting. May I come just as I am?
Hey, girls don't go to Watermarked dressed in a pair of pink pajamas.
Maybe they don't, but I don't care. Haven't got a single thing to wear.
Quick, please, a gown.
Ooh, I'll be the talk of the town. Oh, my.
Go after it, fly.
I followed my heart through the night past 1,000 windows, yellow with light. Down, down it fell, and it landed in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. I'm a girl who happens to think that a brand new car is better than me.
Excited?
Delighted. So glad I got invited.
Since it's just a dream and involves no money, which one would you like me to buy you, honey?
They're all so beautiful, I really don't know, so let me go down, get the lowdown, and look at each one much closer. A Corvette.
I thought you would.
Ooh, I want a Pontiac too.
Okay, we'll have the usual two-car garage. How do you feel about this fine old mobile?
It's easy to see myself taking the wheel.
This Buick's a beaut.
I'll try it. Ooh, what a dreamy ride. I think that we ought to buy it.
Let's go all out and buy a Cadillac, too.
I can hardly wait for this dream to come true.
Hey, lady,
kitchen quick.
Just like a man, you give him a break, and you end up in the kitchen baking a cake.
But this was a kitchen like none I've seen. Put a card in the slot, and onto the screen pops a picture of just how your dish will look, plus all the ingredients you need to cook. No need for the bride to feel tragic. The rest is push-button magic. So whether you bake or broil or stew, the Frigidaire kitchen does it all for you. Don't have to be chained to the stove all day. Just set the timer and you're on your way. Tick-tock, tick-tock, I'm free to have fun around the clock. I'm exhausted. The kitchen of tomorrow is calling me. My cake is ready.
Time for the show. Everybody on stage. And now, a glamorous dancer in a special number, Dance of Tomorrow.
Everyone says the future is strange, but I have a feeling some things won't change.
A magnificent El Dorado town car by Cadillac.
Ensemble by Christian Dior of Paris.
Buick presents the sleek Centurion.
Driving Coat by Montesano of New York.
Oldsmobile's elegant Golden Rocket.
Sports Outfit by Pat Primo of Los Angeles.
Pontiac's Club de Mer, open to the sky.
Costume by Emilio of Capri.
Chevrolet's Impala, graceful and swift.
Silk Casual by Digby Morton of London.
And last of all, designed for the electronic highway of the future, the fabulous turbine-powered Firebird 2. Firebird 2 to Control Tower. We are about to take off on the highway of tomorrow. Stand by.
train.